Now, our next speaker comes almost as far as Daniela came from the other side of the planet. It's my pleasure to introduce Jatna Supriatna, who is professor at the University of Indonesia. Jatna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Buenos dias. Sorry, I pronounce right, but I exposed to Spanish because I graduated from University of New Mexico there in US. So sometimes I know what that's really, but I cannot speak very well. So I tried to be. Has anybody know Indonesia? All right, that's really big deal. So let me start with, where do I get this? All right, so let me give Indonesia 101. It's 17,000 islands compared to Spain. Here is all continental. 6,000 islands is inhabited, and then 1.21 million sea, and 1.9 million. So it's 260 million people with the largest Muslim population in the world. And to be in the right side, you can see that the earthquake last year, more than 2,000 earthquake. And then the history said that we had 110 tsunami. So, and then we have also 126 volcanoes around that 3 islands. Why is the distribution of energy is very important? Because it's not like in Europe or US. We had so many. 15 years ago, one of big grid, because of that earthquake, they knocked down the grid. 2 years ago, there's a tsunami in Java, and it's also knocked down of the grid. So, whether that is going to be in the ocean, whether it's going to be in the land, there is the volcanoes erupting. In Java alone, there's a 44 volcano. So that's really the natures of this one is different. So what we want to do is that what is really the projection, There's a lot of things that we have a 55% economic growth, which is to be increased to 7 to 8% energy demands. And also there's the problem that electricity consumption, it's also very important. You see that it's really growing and growing. Similarly, that electricity ratio is still 95%. It is also, it's not, it's only 1 or 2, 3 grids. It's maybe 100 or maybe 1,000 of grids, from big one to small one, but only Java and Sumatra, they interconnected grid, but the rest is different grids. So I understand how difficult the government. I'm the professor, so I know I'm criticizing many times, but of course, it's not easy to do it, right, when you're government. But at the same time, the emission is going up because we have forest fire. Indonesia is very good, but also very good because of exported haze. We have a haze every year, almost during the dry season, there's always forest fires. So with the land use change, and we mostly, it's the biggest emission is coming from the forest. While, of course, when you are without forest fire, the biggest emission will be coming from the energy, about 67% almost. So right now, unfortunately, the coal is the biggest one. It's becoming more and more because Indonesia produces a lot of coal. I think the 3rd or the 4th biggest producer of the coal. There's a problem, and how do we get this deep decarbonization pathway? We have a DDPP that the UNSDS developed this 2015, so it's already 4 years. We really need to be more aggressive on these tropical renewable energies. So for example, Indonesia has the potential for hydro, geothermal, because we have 160 volcanoes. Bioenergies, solar energy, because we are in the tropical areas also. But of course, wind and ocean energy, there's already total 440 gigawatt. There's a lot of option, but how do we get this option up? So we are predicting this option and up to 2050. But it seemed to me that the renewable energies and natural gas, that the two cleaners, is still maybe 50% up, 60%. So that really need more aggressive in Indonesia. Fortunately, that the new government, right now they really want to develop more renewable energy. This is solar potential, where in the eastern Indonesia, see that the small island there's potential because of the drier areas. The western part is because of the wet, so it's not so much potential. Wind energy is also potential in the eastern part. So in the East Timor, and the West Timor, and also in Sulawesi. Hydro potential is also really big in some of those areas. Plus, of course, the biomass energies also is really big, so the potentially. Geothermal is the second largest geothermal potential in the world after New Zealand. Now we are producing a lot of geothermal, 6%. We are trying to get the more than 15% and 20% the last 5 years. So I think my project basically as a university, we're trying to get this in this small scale because Indonesia is so many small islands. So we cannot get the grid. Most of those grid is a small made from the fossil fuels. How do we change that? Because that could be really significant if you have 4,000 islands that have it. One of those is they call the Montawi Island. It's from Sumatra. It's about 170 miles of Sumatra, and it's 2/3 of the size of Bali. Maybe Bali is it's small, but it's already electrified 100%. But here is very almost it's the other way. It's maybe 5% is electrified. The rest are very forest. So, and there's the surfing areas too. What we have is really the bamboos. Bamboo is the locally is very good because it's only 4 years they can grow to the top. And maybe some of them are 2, some of them are 4. So they can do because they already make this bamboo for the houses and for many things. So the waste of that bamboo can be used for the energy because that's really very easy with the gasification. We also study how that really the bamboo is life cycle bamboo. Basically, if you put it in this transport, energy, and everything, bamboo is especially is a minus footprint. So it's really low carbon. If you do it, then it's going to be very good for the rest of this island because there's so many. So this is one of the examples we did it. In several areas is using electrified by bamboo. So the other example what we had is really just close to Jakarta. It's the big cities, 15 million people. But the problem that they is very close to our campus in Jakarta and Depok. It's only few kilometers, maybe 100 kilometers, but there is no grid. So the people are really dark. So what we have to do is just trying to get this. Making this because this is the fishermen, and also how to get that not only the light, but also how do we get that the better in writing. So we build this micro hybrid power plants, village not so far from our campus. So it's really that you can see that just like really small power plants, And this is the electricity for mostly for the houses, road lighting, cold storage for fishes, because this is mostly fishermen. And the more key of these two is an attractive, replicable concept, the stakeholder interest. Is it free flow information between stakeholders, because in the state grid usually as a very demanding, you have to pay, and then there is no between one with the other talking. Removing barrier for action, not just energy production, but also energy access. The most important thing is addressing people's energy need, just beyond lighting. So, for example, the fishermen there, they can, at night, they can still doing this, drying the fish. So that the when the rainy season, they can send it even to the markets. But the most important is changes the improvement for existing policy, which is, we already have DDPP, Deep Decarbonization Programs, a pathway program from IUC, from the SDSN. How do we push it? Of course, that's going to be very good. Why don't we just try to the small first? And then they do it, they distribute it in the locally, and finally tap the attention from the local government and also from the central government. Thank you, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. So we have started 15 minutes late. We are ending 15 minutes late. We all took a little bit more time than what we were supposed to. I think we don't have time, for respect to the next session, we don't have time for question and answers. We should give the floor to the next session, otherwise we just accumulate delays for the whole day, and that's not good. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session. Thank you again.